Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Rio.
Hey, RFM, how are you?
I am great. Thank you. I'm so excited. And I just can't hide it.
I'm so excited.
Boom, baby.
I can't hide it.
That was like the bottom of Ben Gardner's boat. Alas, poor York. I knew him, Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest.
So because we are doing sort of a tie-in to Halloween, I thought I'd bring a few props along. I don't know what that means, but anyway, I brought a few props along to play around with throughout the night. So anyway, happy Halloween to you, RFM.
Oh my gosh. That's why I'm so excited. I just got back from a walk on a beautiful, beautiful October afternoon in the Pacific Northwest, and the leaves are turning and they're falling, and it is absolutely exhilarating.
I love this time of year, especially in southern Utah. It gets a lot cooler here.
Yes, I've heard that.
Well, it gets cooler everywhere.
Okay, everybody wants to know what's in the glass. What's in the tumbler, Mr.
This
Real?
is a, I'm trying to think what juice it is. I don't think it's watermelon. It might be watermelon.
He's trying to come up with an excuse.
No. There's no alcohol in here.
I didn't say there was.
I've never drank alcohol or been inebriated in any way except for one show, which you both knew was going to happen. And I don't know if that was a good idea that night or not, but
yeah.
But otherwise, I've been sober for every show.
You didn't know you were going to go for 3 grams, though.
Yeah, I had blasted off and was visiting another planet, but no.
You were one toke over the line. Sweet Jesus.
Just one.
We can have people in the chat guess. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Maven.
Yeah, no, we're both trying to. I'm just curious now if the chat has guesses, if they know which episode. I could barely tell, even though I knew. I was actually wondering if it happened at all or not. So, yeah. Tell us in the chat if you know which show it was.
The Ben Brown episode where we interviewed him, and he was sort of off the rails in his comedy. And anyway, I thought things would be a little funnier if I had partaken.
Okay. All right. Well, enough for True Confessions. Don't go anywhere, Maven, because everybody's noticed that I went to all this trouble to bring the special T-shirt because it's a Halloween episode to wear on tonight's show. And I ended up finding the same T-shirt that you're wearing. It's totally coincidence, isn't it?
But yeah.
My only question is, here's what's on the front of mine. I thought it would be a little bit spooky if you had Captain America turning into a werewolf. Oh, but it's Marvel. Oh my gosh. This is an incredible coincidence.
It is.
I think it's too much of a coincidence to just be coincidence. There must be some kind of divine intervention going on.
I guess why is Bill left out? That's my question.
Yeah, he did not get the memo.
Just wearing a nice button-down shirt. So
the Holy Ghost has lost Bill's forwarding address.
That might be it. I did have to specifically give my forwarding address in order to get this, so I that tracks.
Yeah. So anyway, what I want to say, and to try and keep the ball rolling, is that tonight we're calling this Coast to Coast in honor, of course, of the great late Art Bell. And I expect that hopefully most people in the audience know who Art Bell is and was, and have had a chance to listen to his incredible radio show that used to broadcast across the country and across the world, eventually in all the different time zones. And that was the original long format. The idea was that he would have guests on a show. It was all about paranormal, whatever kind of paranormal that was welcome. And he'd have guests on the show, and sometimes he'd have callers call in. And I didn't listen to a ton of it, but I listened to some of it, and I found it quite enjoyable. My take on Art Bell was that first off, he had a wonderful voice. He was a wonderful broadcaster, and he seemed to have a very warm spirit as he talked on the microphone. And there was never any time when I heard him give a hint of incredulity at the stories that were being told him by guests or callers in, regardless of how bizarre and entirely unlikely those stories were, or how badly they were presented. Never, ever any kind of pushback. And I think that's one of the things that made him so popular amongst that broad band of the audience. So it's coast to coast. And I remember he would start out his show with words along the lines, from the high desert and the great American Southwest, this is Coast to Coast with Bill Reel and Radio Free Mormon.
I listened to this quite a bit. I don't know. There must have been a time in my life. I know I worked early mornings and late at night for a time in my life. And there's also times where I've been out like driving to like drive to a vacation or something, and you're driving through the night, and there is very little on the radio other than maybe some music to keep you awake. And Coast to Coast was one of these programs that lasted hours and hours. And it was entertaining and interesting enough that it was the thing to stay awake to if you were up at night. And I really enjoyed the show. And I know that you can certainly throw it out there, but I will have both the call-in studio rocking and rolling, and Maven, I stuck the invite URL, excuse me, the invite URL in the private chat, so you can put that into the comments as well. And I'll let you kind of set up what you're thinking, RFM, but those are both available.
That's fantastic. And every Halloween, Art Bell would have a special program where he modified the phrase of coast to coast and called it Ghost to Ghost. And that was the open mic. Anybody can call in with their ghost stories, and Art Bell will listen to them very, very patiently and very believingly. It's like his motto was, we want to believe you. So
right.
I've got an order here. By the way, we get to go first because we are the bishopric in the sacrament meeting of unholiness. And we get to go first, right? Because it's fast and testimony meeting. I've got the order here, which is going to be Bill's going to go first with his story. Then Maven has something special and horrendous to tell us. Then I'll go with my story. And then if there's any time left, which there will be a lot of time left, I think, please call in with your stories and we will listen patiently and as credulously as the great Art Bell.
And just to note, you can call the studio. I've got 8 lines open. So you can call 662-667-6667. And Maven's going to, if she hasn't already, put into the YouTube comments or the comments in the other places, the URL that's in, okay, sweet. That URL will allow you to come into the studio. If you have a decent microphone, a decent video camera on either your phone would work, or a desktop or laptop, you can come into the studio and we can add you there where you can tell your paranormal or ghost story. So going first, I don't know that my story is a ghost story, but this is one of the strangest of all stories that has ever happened to me. And I've had a little bit of some crazy things happen where, while serving as a bishop, being woken up in the middle of the night to pray for a family that really did need my prayers that I didn't know about. And they had a medical emergency at the moment I was praying. But the one I chose to tell is a sort of deja vu. This was maybe about 5 years into my marriage. My wife and I went to go see a movie called The Four Feathers with Heath Ledger. And we get to the theater, we sit down, we're watching the movie, and the plot of the movie is that Heath Ledger is a slave in some sort of like underground encampment, hundreds, if not 500, 600 years ago, whatever it was. It's olden time. And Heath is there. I don't remember what his character's name is, but he goes through the rigmarole of being a slave. He fakes his own death. They carry the body out. He took some medicine to like slow down his heart, and they dispose of the body, and then he comes to, and then the rest of the movie is what goes on. I'm sitting in the theater, me and my wife, we're watching the movie. Soon as it starts, and you can ask her, she'll tell you that this is what happened. Soon as it starts, I am telling her, I've seen this before. Like, we just went to the movie. It had just come out. I definitely had not been to it. I don't go to any movies without my wife. I'm there sitting there watching the movie, and I'm like, babe, I've dreamed this. And I remember distinctly when I was a younger person, maybe 14 years old, 16 years old, something like that. I had a dream where I was the one in this underground encampment, and every part of the movie as it was happening, I'm like, Amanda, what's going to happen next is they're going to push these pillars around this central piece that moves. And that's how they earn their keep every day, is to keep this thing moving. I don't know what it did, but it functioned to serve some purpose. So there were a bunch of slaves pushing like a centerpiece around in circles because there were pieces sticking out, and they would all be pushing against. And then he takes some. I'm like, baby, he's going to fake his death. And he takes a pill and he fakes his death, and his heart stops or slows down significantly so that he appears to be dead. I'm like, they're going to carry him outside. They're going to dump his body. And every step of the movie, I am telling my wife what is going to happen next in this movie. And it happened. And we get maybe 45 minutes into the movie before I run out of the ability to tell her what's going to happen next. And it happens like 6, 7, 8, 9 times in these major moments in the movie. I'm like, babe, I've seen this before. I've done this. This is a dream I had. I remember this distinctly. And I can't explain it. I don't believe in the hereafter anymore. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in reincarnation. These things don't make sense to me. But I will say that this was always an experience. And I even went and looked it up. It is actually a made movie from like way long time ago, black and white. I had never seen it. At least I don't think I had.
You anticipated what I was Googling while you were talking.
I saw you doing that, but it was made prior to being remade with Heath Ledger, but it's like this old ancient movie. I'm not black and white movie guy either. So, I don't have an explanation for it. And to this day, there's 2, 3, 4 things in my life that have happened that I can't quite explain, but something happened in terms of me dreaming what was a movie that I would watch later on. And I don't know how to tell heads or tails of that, but for me, that is my paranormal experience.
Wow. That is amazing.
Well, I'm glad I went first. So hopefully you guys got stuff better than that.
Well, I want to share this comment, and this is what kind of I was laughing about was that I think maybe the the scariest thing about that is knowing that Bill's gonna ruin a movie for you and spoil it the whole way through.
Well, that's when you had to. I'm usually pretty good at movies at not ruining the ending. My kids talk during the movie at the theater, and I'm constantly on their case, like, guys, everybody else is here too. They're trying to watch this. Be quiet. But they love to all talk
the 4 feathers.
Yeah.
Until
That's
the 4
funny.
feathers, and then I let loose.
Maven, you're up to bat.
Okay. I was trying to think if I had something to say beforehand, but I'll just go ahead and well, I guess I don't know. This is something I feel like I'm pretty easily spooked out by some things, but I still consider myself very skeptical. But when it comes to late night and I'm alone, especially in a building, then I lose that a little bit. It's just to me, it's funny that I can have different levels of skepticism depending on the circumstances around me. But I worked a lot as a night shift person, especially as a security guard, and there's been a few times where I've scared myself on my shifts, and ghost stories are actually pretty common on shifts like that. I've had at least 2 buildings that other people insisted, and they weren't joking, they insisted were haunted and that there were certain places that they wouldn't go. Whereas for me, I did my rounds, I did what I was supposed to do. And the only times I really got spooked out was if I was listening to creepy podcasts. And then actually in one building, the tech department was really fun, and they had a cardboard cutout of Obama, and they would put it in random places to scare other members of the tech team. But they got me a good couple of times when I would round a corner and not expect to see like a human figure there, and then just to be abruptly, face to face with Obama. It was just, I don't know, it got me a few times. Anyway, I don't really get scared much except for things like that. So the story I'm going to tell is actually one that I went over when I went on Mormon book reviews with Steve Pinecker. And RFM wants me to read it. I really wanted him to read it.
I'm
I
going to
don't
be
know.
talking
Would
right
you change your
after.
mind
I got to save
if
my voice.
Okay. I was gonna say if the chat insists. I just feel like you have such a great voice for it. But I'm gonna go ahead and bring this up on the stage. So this is from the book. Actually, let me I'll just show the book here real quick. Actually, I don't know if that'll the
Fate of the
persecutors
persecutors. Yes, we can see that.
of
Of the
Joseph
prophet
Smith.
Joseph Smith.
Okay. So that's what this is from. I've edited it to make it just a little bit shorter so we don't take too long.
Hey,
So
Maven.
anyway,
Maven,
yeah,
before you
quick
start, I
introduction.
apologize. Okay, I just willed Bill back into his seat.
Okay.
Okay. He was
Perfect.
getting away for a second. Now, maybe do you have a source for this? Do you know where this comes from? Or who's
So,
writing this?
yeah, so the it's a compiler as NB Lundwall.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
I
meant
don't know if
this
you
actual statement, just the
this
statement.
particular
Yeah.
statement is supposedly, I mean, they have the affidavits at the bottom of it. So this is from a William H. Chappell, being duly sworn, deposes and says that the foregoing statement is a true recital of events as they occurred and happened according to his knowledge, to which other living witnesses can also testify. In
Got it.
witness thereof, he has set his hand and signature this 28th day of September, 1948. So it's a
1948.
witness statement. Yeah, that's when this was
1948. That was just
right.
like
It's a
4
little bit
years after Joseph Smith got killed. Oh,
right,
wait,
just a
plus
little bit late.
100.
Yeah. Surprisingly, quite a few testimonies from this. They're a little bit dubious. And I
Wow.
guess we'll see why.
It's
So
kind of far removed,
um
but I'll bet it's an exciting story.
yeah, so just I guess a quick trigger warning or content warning. There's a little bit of body horror kind of
Mm,
stuff in this. So
that's what we're all
all right,
here
I'll
for
bring it back
tonight.
up. Yep. All right, so this is the story of quote unquote old man Brooks. We don't have a first name. About the year 1892, when I was 18 years of age, an old man by the name of Brooks moved into the neighborhood. And this is in Summit County, by the way. The old man used to come to my father's home, sit on the porch, and talk to my father. The conversation turned to pioneer stories and of Joseph Smith, the prophet. On one particular evening, after my father had talked about Joseph Smith, the old man Brooks said, "Mr. Chappell, I saw the last bullet shot into the old boy." After Mr. Brooks had gone home to his cabin, my father said, "No wonder he is a miserable old soul. If he saw the last bullet shot into Joseph Smith, he was in that mob. If he was in that mob, it has been prophesied that he will suffer all kinds of torment. His limbs shall rot off his body, and he will not have courage to take his own life." Dun, dun, dun. After
Good.
this conversation, I took particular notice of the old man and how he suffered. The old man had a belt which he wore. Oh, I meant to edit this one out. Sorry. The old man had a belt which he wore around his waist, to which the son would take off and then beat the old man with it just to hear him scream. And when beating him, the son would laugh and profane and seem to enjoy it. Enjoy it. All of this I saw. The old man was crippled and could walk only with the aid of two sticks, one in each hand, and without the aid of these, he was totally helpless and unable to walk. While living here, his toes rotted off his feet.
That probably made it easier for his son to beat him.
Probably he couldn't run away.
Yeah.
I was up to my brother in law's ranch one fall in November when an 8-inch snow fell, dropping to zero weather by night. My brother in law and I took over an extra quilt and some supper to the old man, and also chopped wood, which we piled close to the stove so that he could handily keep the fire going during the night without getting out of bed. After returning home later in the night, I heard him screaming. I awoke my brother in law, and he said, "Don't take notice of him. He always screams like that." When we got up the next morning, we looked towards his cabin and saw that the house was gone. We immediately went to where his cabin had been and found it had burned to the ground during the night.
Hang on a second, Maven. Who are the
Okay,
last people who were there making the fire in his fireplace?
right.
Yeah,
And
I think there
handily
may have been some
jacking wood.
negligence there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
All of the That's okay. All of the old man's clothes had burned off of him, and he was burned all over his body from his feet to the top of his head. He was alive and lay curled up in the ashes of the burned cabin, trying to keep warm.
You would have
We
thought he would have
secured
been
some
pretty warm by then.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it all had burnt out by then, so now it was back to the snow.
Mm.
We secured some quilts, and with team and sleigh, we took him to, and I still don't know how to pronounce this, Peoa. The people of Peoa took up a collection which amounted to $5 for the particular medicine he was directed to buy. The old man died on the 4th day after he was burned, and his remains were interred in the Peoa cemetery. And Rebecca Biblioteca sent me a picture, so I'm going to try to get that on the screen
I hope it's
as
not of
soon as
this
I
guy
can.
after he got burned.
Um, what was that?
Not this guy after he got burned. Not a picture like that, right?
No, so this town has a plaque that I think was oh, my computer's being weird now. was somebody's, I think, Eagle project. So I don't know. I'll have you guys, I guess, chat about the story while I try to bring up this picture. And it looks like we've got 2 people in the chat ready to share stories. So I'm pleased to see that.
I am
I'm
too. Why
going
don't
to
we
try to
go?
get that.
Were you done?
No, I'm gonna try to get these pictures real quick if you guys, I don't know, want to chat about that.
Why don't you go ahead and finish your presentation off? Then we can go to the people in the order that Bill thinks best.
I
we got
can, but I
phones, we
just
got
need a
people
minute to
here.
find it. That's the problem.
Oh, you're trying to find it. Oh, I see. I see. While you're looking for it, what if we take the first person who's online, Bill?
We actually have a couple people here in the studio. Do you want to take a phone call or do the video?
Let's do video first if we can.
Oh,
All right.
hey.
We'll
Hey,
alternate.
how are you?
Great. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Excellent.
Who is this? Who calls us?
Sloan Smart is my name.
Sloan Smart.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I like that name. What's your
Are you
story,
related?
Sloan?
Are you related to that mission president that we covered about 100 episodes ago?
No. And people always ask Elizabeth Smart as well. Not related either. So
Okay.
All right.
mine's actually a missionary spooky story.
Ooh.
So I served my mission down in Paraguay in 2003. And
Paraguay, yes.
yes, Paraguay, Asunción Norte. And one night, it was July, so down there that was wintertime, and so it started to get dark around 4:00 in the afternoon. It was around 7 or 8, so it was completely dark. Amazon jungle around me, a dirt road, and about halfway down the block, there was a lamppost. And under the lamppost, I saw a very dark-skinned figure, only wearing what looked like dirty, like soccer shorts, like tiny shorts. No shoes, no shirt, kind of matted, longer hair over the ears. And I just got this, like, I didn't have a spooky feeling. I was more like, oh, he's going to rob me. Like I'm going to get held up at knife point. And so I turned to my companion and I said, hey, I don't feel right. We need to take the long way home. We can't walk past this guy. 'Cause he was like directly past him a few blocks was going to be our house that we were staying in. And so he's like, I agree. Let's take the long way home. He pulls out his slingshot, which we had for like street dogs that would try to bite us down in Paraguay, to protect us. And so as we start walking, we were going to take a long way around. We start hearing this eerie whistling up in the trees, kind of following us. It wasn't a scary, hey, McDude. So
Hey,
it wasn't.
Stop it! You're interrupting the story. That's my job.
Sorry. And so essentially it followed us. It wouldn't get further, wouldn't get closer away. It was really creepy. The whistling followed us. And so we ended up coming back around to the street that our house was on. Like my companion tossed me the keys to the lock. We had a locked gate, so I unlocked the gate. We never went through the front door. We always went through the back because we had a bookcase blocking the front door, so we'd never get our stuff stolen. So I ran around to the back and unlocked the door. My companion came running around the back as well. And as soon as we shut the door, the whistling stopped and it stopped following us. And so that was on a Wednesday night. On Friday, we had a barbecue with this member family. Yes.
Sloan, hang on a second. So you see the skinny Sasquatch by the lamppost.
Yeah. Just thought it was a Paraguayan in the cold, wearing just like some dirty soccer shorts.
Okay,
it was Kane.
That's it. You don't see him again?
No, I just hear the whistling.
Okay, after that, just the whistling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Soon to be appearing in the movie Kane Goes on a Diet.
It could be. And okay. I'm 5'9". Most Paraguayans are average of like 5 foot. And he was about average size of Paraguayan, but again, very dark skin, dark matted hair, dirty soccer shorts is what it looked like. I had a jacket on. He was just in the dirty soccer shorts, but the whistling followed us home. So we went to the members barbecue on Friday night. Yeah. So that was Wednesday. That had happened. Friday, we went to the barbecue and my companion was like, hey, tell them kind of what happened. And so I told them, and they pulled out this book of Paraguayan myths and legends. And there's this Paraguayan legend called Pombero that essentially protects the birds from children with slingshots. And he whistles. And he's shorter, dark skin, dark matted hair, wears like a loincloth, that sort of thing. So that was my run-in on my mission with Pombero.
What did you think about that when they opened up the book and you read that article?
I was freaking out. I was like, the Lord is with me. He protects his missionaries, right? Like that was the feeling, right? It was a very faith-promoting story for me.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
What do you liken that to? I'm just glad it wasn't the chupacabra.
Well, right, because then our sheeps would have no blood.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
And pretty soon they move up from sheep.
Exactly. Yep. No, I was just, it was really weird. Again, my first thought was I'm going to get robbed. And so that was kind of the bad feeling. I didn't think it was, anything supernatural until after I saw the book.
But
So,
when you saw the book, now you know the whole story.
yeah,
What do you
I
think?
freaked out. I freaked out. Again, I thought it was a very faith affirming. The Lord protects his chosen messengers, right? Like that's why we had the feeling to go the different way.
That is really, really cool. I think it is.
Ooh, creepy monkey paw.
Bill likes your story so much, he's giving you a hand.
Nice. Thank you.
Or the finger.
Or the finger.
So I think
Awesome.
ghost stories on missions is really, really common, and I bet that'll be probably a recurring theme because I don't know, I think it's what we have, and maybe it has to do with just the intensity of a mission and the hyper, religiosity. I can't talk today. Religiosity that kind of maybe makes like a ripe environment for these kind of stories. But I think what's kind of unique about what you shared is that it's combined with an actual like a local legend rather than just like a demon trying to stop the work kind of a story. So that's interesting.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Happy
Y'all are
Halloween
awesome.
to you.
Yes. Happy Halloween.
Thanks. Do we have someone on the phone, or should we take people who are online? Should we give them preference? Is that not right?
I just wanted to show the body that I found from Maven's story. So there
is that from the book?
No, that's just a dead, charred body that I found on the internet while we were.
This was the picture I was trying to, and it's I don't have quite like the close up of the plaque, but it's it just, I think it says Brooks, and it's dedicated to the guy in the story, but it's just on this gigantic stone, and it says like supposedly he is buried under this, and that the stone just kind of like fell from the mountains, although there's not really any mountains nearby. So I mean, it might look like someone just slapped a plaque on top of a random large rock in a cemetery, but I bet if we removed that, there would be an actual real body under there, and this hasn't been there for hundreds or thousands of years probably.
I know what wouldn't be under there.
What?
Gold plates with a third to one half being sealed.
Oh, ye of little faith.
Probably.
All right, so we got lots of phone calls. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, can we do a phone call and then we'll get? I think it's Tim Grogan.
Yep, we'll go to him next. So let's do the call.
Sorry, Tim. I feel bad because I can sort of see you down there from my haunted vantage point.
I think this is Gary. Is that correct?
Daphne.
Daphne, go ahead, Daphne.
Pretty close.
All right.
The mystery mobile.
So,
Daphne, so you're out in the mystery mobile one night, and what happens?
Exactly. I was about 13 years old in the mystery mobile. No, but actually, I was going to get on a bus. There is a bus involved in the story, so that's hilarious. I was about 13 years old, and I rode the public school bus, and so I usually waited for the bus around like 6:50 in the morning. So usually it's still kind of dark. This time of year it was kind of dark. I don't remember what time of year it was, but it was still dark in the mornings, and it was kind of cold outside. So I waited the bus like I always did, and I had my headphones in and my awesome iPod Nano with 2 whole gigs on it. So that was real fancy. And as I'm listening to the music, I hear my name and I get really freaked out, and I'm like, just wait for the bus, and I can see the bus like cornering.
You heard what?
Yeah. All of a sudden,
I heard my own name. I heard someone call my name.
You got your name called.
Oh, sorry about that.
Someone called your name, or someone called yourself?
Is that a little more clear?
Oh, much better. Thank you so much. Okay, so you're at the bus
Yeah,
stop. It's in the morning. You're waiting for the bus. It's dark out, and then something happens. Please take it from there.
Yeah. So from there, I hear my name, someone calling my name. And I got kind of freaked out because
Is it a man's
I'm
voice?
usually the only one at my bus stop. It was a man's voice, yes. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And I ignored it and I heard my name again. And then I got more freaked out. I'm like, this is weird. I just wait for the bus. The bus is coming around the corner. I hear my name a third time. So I finally look behind me and my dad is standing, I would say about 30 yards away from me. So kind of far, but at this moment, the bus is already approaching my bus stop. And so I'm ready to get on the bus, if that makes sense.
No, actually,
So
it doesn't right now.
I see my dad.
Daphne, your dad is behind you.
That's what I see. I see my dad behind me about 30 yards walking toward me. He's wearing a baseball cap. He's always worn. Like he's wearing a shirt that I've seen him wear before. And I see him and I'm kind of like weirded out. Because he's
that
usually
would not
not
be
at my
normal.
bus stop in the morning.
Yeah, for him to be there. Okay.
No, not normal at all.
I understand. Thank you.
My dad, we'll talk about that. So it's not normal for me to see him there. And all he says to me is, Daphne, get good grades so you can go to BYU. And I grew up very Mormon with doing family home evening every Monday, blah, blah, blah. I'm currently out of the church, but BYU was always kind of a goal for me anyway. So him saying that to me wasn't that weird at the time, but it was a weird timing, if that makes sense. So at this point, I'm crossing the street to get on my bus, and I get on my bus and I sit in my normal seat. I sit in the front seat with one of my friends. And my friend Leanna, I didn't say anything to her, but my friend Leanna says to me, hey, is that your dad? I'm like, yeah, that's my dad. And she's like, what's he doing? Because she never sees him there. And I'm like, he told me to get good grades so I can go to BYU. And she's like, cool. And I'm like, great. So fast forward to the evening. I'm still really weirded out by this experience. So I talked to my dad. Hey, Dad, why are you at my bus stop this morning? And my dad is like, what are you talking about? And I'm like really confused. And I'm like, stop joking. Why are you at my bus stop? You told me to get good grades, to go to BYU. And he's like, I wasn't there. I took your sister to seminary this morning, like I always do. Seminary starts, I think for her, it started at 6:30 in the morning. And the stake center that my sister had the seminary at was about a 20-minute drive from my dad's house. My dad would wait for her while they had seminary and would take her to school. So at 6:50 in the morning, my dad was not home. So at this point, I'm like kind of freaking out. I'm 13 years old and I'm like yelling at my dad, like, stop lying to me. And like, I asked my mom, I asked my siblings, I asked my sister, like, you were at seminary? She's like, yes. Like there was no way dad was there. And this whole, like the whole time I'm freaking out. And honestly, that's kind of where the story ends. I really never got answers. I did go on the bus the next day and asked my friend Leanna too, you saw my dad yesterday, is that right? She's like, yeah, he was wearing the baseball cap, kind of thing. And I'm like, you knew that. And I had another friend also named Yunha who also saw him there as well.
Daphne,
so
your father,
yeah.
that morning somehow was in two completely separate places at once.
It appears to be. I talked to the bishop once about it.
I'm sorry. And yet the father that you came home to and you talked to about did not remember or know about his going to your bus stop.
Correct. And I mean, this is one of those things where it's been years since I thought about it, but for a long time after that experience, I kept asking my dad, like, stop playing this joke, and he wouldn't let up. So either he's still playing a joke on me or that really happened. I asked the bishop once about it, and I'm Hispanic. I'm like Latin American, or I guess I'm Mexican, and my dad is Mexican and like dark skinned as well. And so he chalked it up to the 3 Nephites. That was one of the 3 Nephites, and I ended up going to BYU. I got good grades, and then I graduated from BYU. But now I've left the church, so here we are.
Well, at least we have some good information about the fact that one of the 3 Nephites is identical to your dad,
There we go.
shapeshifter.
See?
including the ball cap.
The more we know.
I wonder who the 3
And
Nephites
that was one
were
thing
for.
is that they kind of chalked it up to that too. It's like, well, they can appear non-threatening to you. So
Yeah, it's interesting,
There we
very
go.
interesting and strange, and I don't know what to make of it. Have you made anything out of it? How this happened?
honestly, I haven't thought about it in years until you guys kind of brought this up last week during Mormonism Live, and that's when I started to think about it. And so I still need to talk to my dad about it. So I will keep you guys posted.
Thank you so much, Daphne. I appreciate the call, and you're sharing that story with us. You know, it's funny when Daphne
Yeah,
says
no
that
problem.
about.
Thank you guys.
Oh, bye-bye. Happy Halloween.
Bye.
I'm sorry, I didn't know she was still there. Yeah, it's so funny when Daphne talks about going on, you know, in life with her dad, and every now and then bringing it up and saying, yeah, you were kidding about that, right? It brought something to mind that I don't remember entirely, but there was something that happened. I don't know if it was a friend of mine or somebody else. Oh, I remember it now, but I'm not going to share it. But it was like for years after I'm saying, you're kidding about that, right? You actually did that. And the answer was always the same. No, I didn't. Oh, so Dan Vogel is in the audience. Good evening, Mr. Vogel. Yeah, he says the 3 Nephites were white. It must have been one of the 3 Lamanites. Yes, this is why we have such excellent scholars in the live chat.
I
Well,
wanted to say,
we now
I thought it was
start.
interesting. Like normally, I think these kinds of stories will have usually a passed on family member kind of giving messages beyond the grave. So it's an interesting kind of twist where it's somebody that looks like somebody that you know and is alive and well and that you live with and can easily check with. I did see there was this comment that asked, does your dad look like his father? So I guess maybe that connected with me because I was like, if they do look very
Hmm,
similar,
hmm.
which like my youngest brother looks a lot like my father, takes after him, like their baby pictures look like they could be identical twins. And so that would maybe switch it up to where if that was the case, then maybe it's the grandfather, but I think that would be something you would have just, I think, known inherently if that was the case. But it just seemed like I think this person was also maybe thinking in line with me it's just an interesting twist.
I think it's very interesting. And the thing that attracts me to the story and makes me tend to believe it more than just any, rank and file story you might hear out there is all of this supernatural effort seeming to go to deliver such a pedestrian message.
Yeah.
This is not something that someone would generally concoct, but now I've given you the way to tell a story that, can fool me. So go ahead.
Yes, Current Bush. I am the gardener here. So maybe somebody's leading somebody.
Hubie
Like going to
Brown.
BYU is a big deal for this person's track in life.
That was a beautiful quotation, Bill. That was a Hubie Brown talk, wasn't it?
I think so.
It was.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We're on the same wavelength tonight.
Love
Coast
it.
to coast.
Love it. So we've got Tim in the audience. Want to bring him on?
Yes, west of the Rockies. You're on the air, Tim Grogan.
Hello, gentlemen. Got the
Good evening.
most entertaining post-Mormon show in the business.
I love it.
Well, you have excellent taste, sir.
Yeah, but exactly. And RFM, you are the movie guy. I'm one of those guys.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm Tony Montana, and I want my civil rights from President Jimmy Carter. Stuff like that.
I'll just pretend I know what you're saying. So you have some kind of creepy, eerie, macabre.
Well,
story.
I actually look for ghosts. I'm a agnostic atheist now in southern Utah, and I'm looking for the beyond. So I go to haunted places. And for example, there's a place in Bill. You might want to take your wife there, your missus. It's called the Hotel Zaza. It used to be used by the big oil men in Houston for orgies. And there's supposedly dead bodies buried in the basement there. Okay. And
Those are some orgies.
It's like the hotel in The Shining.
Yeah, the Overlook.
There's secret rooms and panels and all that. Didn't see anything there, nothing. But I was at the Hotel Mitzvah, which is supposed to be the most haunted hotel in America, in Tonopah, Nevada.
Tim, for a second, I'm sorry to interrupt. When you said you went to the hotel about Shining, I was trying to think of that the other day. Is that the Overlook? No, that's the book. Is it the Stanley Hotel?
Yeah, I believe so. In Colorado, it's in
In Estes
Colorado.
Park or something like that. Okay, yeah, that's where they
Yeah,
filmed
I've
it.
never been there, but I'm gonna go there. I don't even know what the story is. I've been to another one. There's another famous haunted hotel in San Diego where there's a widow's watch on top, and the woman appears. And then I went to a haunted hotel in Hollywood, but I've never seen anything.
It's not the Roosevelt, is it?
I think it is the Roosevelt.
I think it is.
Yeah, I stayed there, right across from the old Grauman. They renamed it the Grauman Chinese Theater.
Yep, that's the one. Courtesy of my dear friend Randy Bell.
There you go. But I stayed at this hotel called the Mitzvah Hotel, and I went with a friend of mine, a buddy, and there were 2 floors to stay on. I think it was the 11th floor had deceased children that were supposed to appear, and they're crying out. They died in a fire or something. And then on the 6th floor, there's a lady, a prostitute, who was murdered by a jealous client. And so I stayed on the 6th floor, and I made my buddy stay on the 11th floor. So because I wanted to,
So you got the prostitute, and he got the screaming kids.
He got the screaming kids. So I'm waiting anxiously in my room, and I finally fall asleep. And the walls of this hotel are about yay thick. They're built to 1875 standards or something like that. It was the tallest standing building in the state of Nevada at the time. They had a lot of old silver mines there. But I wake up to screaming in the next room. And at first, I think I'm going to have a ghostly experience, but it's just a guy entertaining his girlfriend.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
All right.
I'm laughing.
Yeah, come on.
This is a family show.
Wait, now, has this whole thing just been a put on to lead up to this, or have you actually gone out looking for
I'm looking for ghosts. I did have a dream of a demon one time.
I didn't know if oh wow, you had a dream of a demon. Totally
Yeah.
impressed.
It was
No,
like-
I'm sorry.
RFM's been divorced
My Art
twice.
Bell
so-
persona totally slipped right there. I'm supposed to go, wow, you had a dream about a demon? Tell us
Yes.
about it.
I used to listen to Art Bell all the time, by the way. He was fantastic. people are saying the craziest stuff in the world. Go, wow, this is very interesting. Wow, let's take a break right now. And
So Guy McDude is weighing in saying that's the worst ghost story ever. Of course, it wasn't a ghost story. But here you are. You've got to tell us. You have been searching
searching
a
for
ghost.
ghosts.
What have you found? Have you found anything?
I've looked and looked and looked and except for the screaming guy, lady in the next room,
And the demon dream.
and the demon. That was the scariest dream I ever had. It was about a 7-foot tall demon, and I tapped him on the shoulder, and he had one big eye right in the middle of his forehead.
Right.
And he said, "We're going to become very close."
Mm-hmm.
And I woke up, night terror. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm looking for ghosts.
That was better than the other story. But you haven't found anything, but you've really been trying. Is it that
Yes.
you've been looking for ghosts in all the wrong places?
I don't know. Maybe I scare them off. My skeptical. You gotta, or I don't have enough imagination. Too much autism. Not enough.
I do think skepticism kind of scares them off. They tend to favor the believing, is what I hear.
But,
Yeah,
but you're not a skeptic, are you? I mean, would you be running around to all these different places and taking up all that time to try and find
I'm an
something that you don't
open-minded
believe
skeptic.
exists?
I'm an open-minded skeptic. Whatever the evidence says, who knows? I mean,
Well, please get in contact with us if you ever find anything. By the way, here's an easy one for you. Give me the movie. Extra credit for the character.
go.
He thrusts his fists against the posts and still insists he sees the ghosts.
Wow.
Oh, I thought that was a gimme. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm making it worse, aren't I?
I'm thinking.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
I'm sorry. Time's up.
Go ahead. No, go.
Yeah.
What is
Fem
what is
morte has it. Yes.
it?
Yes. It was Billy, right?
Thought you were
Georgie
reading
was the
Edgar
one,
Allan
his little
Poe.
brother who got killed. Anyway, we all float down here, Billy. He was the one with the speech impediment. He stuttered. And this was the thing that the speech pathologist gave to him in order to repeat over and over in order to try and help with it.
I've got one for you.
Oh, yeah?
Watch the skies. Everywhere. Everyone. Watch the skies.
That's interesting because you know that craziness at the end is reminiscent of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But why would they be watching the skies? That's what I don't know.
It's the first version of The Thing.
Yes.
If you've ever seen it, James Arness plays The Thing. He's there. He's an out of control carrot that feeds on human blood.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And of course, John Carpenter did the famous remake in the 80s with Kurt Russell.
Yes, but they're both good. They're both excellent.
Never get enough beta carotene.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, you guys are great. So
thank you so much, Taylor. I appreciate your being here.
Thank you.
Happy Halloween. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I just wanted to put this up real quick. So this is from PD Priesthood Dispatches, and you can see in the top corner his Paramormon instead of paranormal Paramormon investigation. This was something he did last year, but he went to a very haunted hotel in the UK to try to see if he could channel the ghost of Joseph Smith, even trying a rock and a hat. So if you're interested in PD's ghost story, that's on his channel. Again, that's Priesthood Dispatches. I'll grab the link real quick and put it in the chat for you guys to watch later if you like. But I just thought there's another kind of creepy hotel mystery. And I think this was in conjunction with actually another show that's pretty popular in the UK where they film people. They put up cameras in these kinds of hotels during the night and watch people get freaked out or not.
It looks like a young Alfred Hitchcock.
Maybe.
All right. We've got
all right. So we have somebody else on the phone, on the line, east of the Rockies.
Caller, what's the name?
Hi, this is AKA the Cat Lady.
Cat Lady.
Cat Lady. Go ahead, Cat Lady. Tell us your paranormal or ghost story.
All right. Okay, I'm another Mormon, and I do not believe in the devil, and I do not believe in demons. I should state that ahead of time. About 20 years ago, I had literally just turned off the lights in my room, laid down, put my eye covers on to go to sleep. And within about 5 minutes, I realized I had forgotten to do something. So I took my eye covers off, opened my eyes, and there's this thing floating above me. It had, 2 arms, 2 legs, but they were on my ceiling. And the face and body were extremely like a grayish, pale white with like these burn marks in it. The face itself had dark, huge black eyes, and an extremely wide mouth. I screamed like a legitimate movie scream for at least a few minutes before my family came up and ran to see what was going on. And once I screamed, I saw it recede sort of back to my ceiling, turn its head back around, and then disappear. And it freaked me the hell out. I still don't know what I saw. I have no idea.
How old were you at the time?
I would have been about 26, 27.
And so you have
and it was what was.
I was going to say,
my initial thought was.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Daphne, do you have a continuous recollection from seeing that to your parents or whoever coming into the room? In other words, the most obvious explanation is this is a dream that then segued into reality. And that's why I'm asking if your memory is continuous.
What I thought. That's exactly what I suspected initially. But I had only been in bed with my eyes closed for about 5 minutes. Normally, I don't sleep for at least 20 minutes to half an hour once I lay down for bed. So that would have been extremely unusual for me to have fallen asleep and sort of had a transferred dream that sort of manifested itself. Yeah, I mean, I slept with the lights on for about a month after that because I was so freaked out by what I saw. And the weirdest thing was I can't remember. A few years ago, I was looking at Halloween costumes that some people had done at a college, and somebody had dressed up and was kind of crawling on their legs and chasing after people. And what they had dressed up as looks almost exactly like what I saw in my whatever when it was floating above me. Like it had the same sort of burns, right? It was a full body costume that the person was wearing. It had the same sort of, scars and burn marks, the same big eyes, the same wide mouth. I downloaded the picture because I couldn't believe my eyes, and that was at least 15 years after I saw it. So
did you find the costume packaging?
It was weird.
Did you find the costume packaging to find out what it was called?
I did not. I think the person probably had some experience with makeup because it was done really well.
Well, I've never heard anything like that before, aka the cat lady. I will tell you, however, that even though it never happened to me, my imagination was active enough, even as a high schooler, to think that there would be nothing scarier than for me to walk into my bedroom at night, flip on the light, and have a skeleton sitting at the end of my bed, at the foot of my bed, looking away from me, right? So toward the wall, I come in, flip on the light, the skeleton looks up, looks around at me with a shocked look on his face, as much of a shocked look as a skeleton can have, I guess, and then vanishes. Because I know that something was there. I know it's not there now. And I know that it can come back. And that's why I reacted so strongly. If anybody's watching the screen when you said about what happened and then it, melded into the ceiling, that's why I went, oh my gosh, that's just like my worst fear in a different way.
Yeah, I'd put up a comment as someone had said sleep paralysis, but it doesn't seem to really match that because from what I understand, sleep paralysis typically is when you are asleep and you're kind of in that point where your body is unable to move. There's a part of really deep sleep or slumber where you just don't have that that part of your consciousness, and usually you're not conscious for that part. But if you do happen to wake up during that time, it's extremely difficult to start to get that control back of your body to move around, and it typically does come with the sight or the feeling, if you can't even open your eyes, of demons. And I've had this happen before too, actually, but I knew what it was. It's still terrifying when it happens though, and you can't move and you're trying so hard. But yeah, it's usually there's dark, it's usually not so clear, and it's not something that you would see, walking into a room and turning on the light. So that's interesting. And then someone else had this, I don't know how to say it, hypnagogic hallucination. And this is something I've heard about only just recently, so I don't understand it enough, I think well enough to want to try to define it. But it seems like more of my understanding is it's more of a waking hallucination, and that's the only from a skeptical point of view, I think that would be the only other idea that's what it could be. But that would be terrifying.
It is. And at Coast to Coast, we don't seek to debunk or analyze. We seek to believe.
Yeah. I mean, later on, I started having sleep paralysis, but at that time in my life, I had never experienced, I didn't start experiencing sleep paralysis until about 2 years ago.
I just want to ask one last question, all right?
That's my story.
You said at the outset, I'm sorry, I know we talk over each other a bit. I apologize. But you said at the outset, you don't believe in the devil. You don't believe in demons. So what do you make of this experience that you had?
I don't know. That's the only experience that I've ever had like that. I have gone on ghost hunts as well. I watch all the paranormal shows, or I used to. But I don't know. The only thing I could think of is maybe the 5 minutes wasn't as long or was longer than 5 minutes and I had begun to fall asleep and then woke up and that's when I saw it. I mean, that's my running theory that I have about what happened.
Well, that would be the most comforting theory anyway.
Yeah, that my perception of time was incorrect.
Interesting. Daphne, oh, I said Daphne, I'm sorry, AKA the cat lady. Thank you so much for calling tonight and sharing that story. That's fascinating. And I wish you a happy Halloween.
And I did just put up
Happy
the
Halloween to
comment.
everyone.
Thank you.
Sorry.
There's a bit of a delay.
I thought that the call was going to end there. So Don Smith put up that the hypnagogic hallucinations are brief hallucinations that take place as you're falling asleep. So if that's a thing. So if that helps with the comfort, but I've also been advised that I'm spoiling things. I think which
Yeah, no
RFM was
kidding.
alluding to nicely. So I will not do that anymore. Sorry.
Yes, well, every party needs a pooper. That's why we invited you. Party pooper.
That's Maven.
All right. Well, we got some people down here. Okay, so we've got Newton Lemos from Brazil. How are you doing?
Oh, you got me. My God.
We got you.
Okay, so this is not a coast to coast episode. It's a hemisphere to hemisphere.
Yeah, absolutely. It's coast to coast and around the world, baby.
Okay, I just can't believe it. I just love you guys. I love you, Maven. I love you, Bill. I love you, RFM. And I come and here from Brazil. I'm always watching your shows, and I really love your show, guys. Well, I'm a former Mormon. I've been a Mormon for until I was 27 years old. I'm a returned missionary, and I was excommunicated and all that stuff. But this is not the thing now. The story I'm going to tell you is something that happened with me when I was a member. Me and other people from the church, we went on camping in a reserve very close to my town here. And it was, we stood there for 2 days. And when we were coming back, we were in a bus. And this bus was on a very, it was very rustic road, and the bridge only had let just one car go each time. And the bus was coming down the road, and the driver had to look at the other side to see if someone was coming in the other direction. So he would stop and let the other car comes. And I don't know what happened, that we were in the bus, and the guy started going down in the bridge, and all of a sudden a truck entered in the other side. And guess what happened? Our bus driver tried to stop the bus, and it didn't stop. And so he just drove it sideways, and the bus had no brakes anymore. And so what happened is that he couldn't stop the bus. I just felt that very weird noises, and I thought I would die. And I just closed my eyes, and the bus just went down into the river. It just flew and hit the river down. And from that moment, I couldn't remember anything. I was down the water. I just felt that water coming, and I just lost my conscience. And after that, I just started seeing this very bright light in a place. And I had the very vivid reminding, it was just like a movie, very scene, many scenes from other times in my life came to my mind. And then I started walking. I started walking in a very white and beautiful place. And this gentleman that I didn't know came to me and asked my name. And I told him I was Newton. And he looked at me and said, "Well, Newton, it's not your time yet. You're not supposed to be here. So you're coming back, and you're gonna serve your time there." And then I woke up. I was just in the middle of the water, and I don't know how I could swim and get out of the bus through a hole. And I kept swimming, and I grabbed the side of the river, and I started jumping to the. I started crawling to get up in the bridge. And when I was up there, I could see that my face was all full of blood and my arm was completely broke. So I just don't know how I could do that, you know. And I after that I still don't know what happened to me. And that it's not a story from Visions of Glory, okay? But I just couldn't understand all that scary experience and what that happened to me. And the thing is, I'm almost 59 years and alive and kicking here now. Okay, so I just would like to share. It's not creepy in the sense of a ghost story, but it's something that very is unexplainable, and it affected me in a very special way.
Thanks for sharing. Both of you guys are muted. Oh, I thought Bill wasn't talking, but
No, he wasn't. I was. Thank you. A lot of times I hear people who tell about their near-death experiences and the fact that it had a remarkable change on the course of their life. It changed their attitude completely about life. Did you experience something like that?
No, not really. I was a little bit shocked because that was the very first time that I had that kind of feeling and that I saw that kind of scenery. And the impression that I have today is just a strong feeling that life doesn't end here, that there is something on the other side. Now, not I'm not sure if it is in the Mormon way or Buddhist way or whatever way, but I just keep the impression with me that life does not end here. There's something there that I couldn't explain, but for some kind of reason, I had this experience. I met this man, and this man told me that it was not my time yet, that I should come back. And I came back, and I went through this almost impossible thing that I just, I just really don't know how I could come off the water and swim and climb the cliff to go up to the bridge, and I was just wounded and my arm was broke, and
Yeah.
I could do all of that.
That's amazing. And I want you to stay here so I can say this to your face, okay? Because I'm not belittling your experience at all. I think it's fantastic. It just makes me wonder sometimes because I hear your kind of story has been replicated by lots of different people with a similar kind of story, right?
Yes.
And they died too early and it's not their time. And so they get sent back generally. Those are the stories we hear. Obviously, if they don't get sent back, we don't get to hear those stories. But the ones of the people who got sent back, it just makes me wonder, idly, I suppose, if the God of the universe, who's supposed to be in control of all these, details in everyone's lives, why it is that he lets so many people die prematurely. Have you
Yes,
ever
the
thought about that?
RFM. The thing is, many people in that bus really died.
Yes.
Friends of mine died there,
Yes.
and so I don't know if they were counting the dead people there. They said, "Oh, you come back. You should not be here." Okay, but I
you
think
slipped in.
it was something very serious, and I
You
just
were
kept.
collateral damage, my friend.
Yes, I was a side effect.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you came back. I'm glad you're with us because I love having you watch the show and I love reading your comments in the live chat after the show's over.
Okay.
So get back to the live chat, my friend. Thank you again so much. Happy Halloween.
Okay. Happy Halloween, everyone there.
Oh, this is great. I'm loving the show. And I love the feature.
I know that Rebecca is down below, but we've got a few callers who have been waiting about 50 minutes. So I'm going to put a caller on first and then we'll squeeze.
So Rebecca Biblioteca, sorry about that.
We'll be right with you, Rebecca. Sorry.
Just have some Tranya and wait a little bit longer.
All right, caller. What's the name?
Hello?
Yeah, what's the name, caller?
Hello, my name is Kristen.
Kristen, welcome to Mormonism.
I'm here in Canada. Thank you. So my story is when I was a kid, well, anyway, my mother went to BYU in the 70s. And when I was a kid, she told me this story about these female students in their dorm room who were playing with a Ouija board,
Just can't lead to
and
anything good.
it summoned evil spirits and levitated these students to the ceiling of the dorm room. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, like I was just a kid, like they're going to be stuck up there forever. And I said to my mother, what happened? Like, how did they get them down? And she said, well, they had to call in a whole bunch of missionaries who came in and prayed around these students stuck on the ceiling until they were able to get them down. And
Well, I'll bet there were a lot of right arms raised to the square in that room. That's amazing. No, that's amazing. Kristen, I got to tell you something.
I
Do you know what the first miracle in the history of the LDS Church is?
What's that?
If you don't know, Bill Reel is raising his hand. He's doing his best impression of Hermione Granger.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, if you don't know, then it goes to Bill.
Honestly, I feel like it's. I don't. It's got to go to Bill.
It's basically what they're describing. Bill, take it away.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember the name of the member. First off, I was thinking Elsa Johnson and her lame arm, where she was able to hang laundry afterward, and that was such a big deal. But RFM is referring to it was just Joseph Smith and this other gentleman in the home, and this gentleman ended up being possessed by an evil spirit. Ended up going up to the ceiling, being tossed to and fro against the walls. Joseph Smith then ran out of the house and grabbed the neighborhood. When they all came in, he was no longer being tossed to and fro, but Joseph cast out the devil, and all of them could witness to the end of the experience, which had no miraculous effect to it. But somebody was possessed, and it was a father and son. We've covered their names before. The missing first vision account.
Newell Knight. See, yep. Dan Vogel makes me smile. That's what I love about Dan Vogel. Yeah, so the whole thing is that my recollection is it's similar.
I've never heard that.
This guy's being Newell Knight. He's being cast about. He's
very
possessed.
interesting.
This is Junior, and it's bad news. And so Joseph Smith casts the devil out of him. And I don't know if this is the one where they actually see him leave bodily as he jumps out the window, or that might have been a different story. But the kicker is that when Newell Knight's telling the story, he's talking about how he was suddenly delivered, and he's in this blissful sensation now, because that's how you feel when you get the devil kicked out of you. And the next thing he's aware of is his head pressing against a hard object. And he comes to and looks, it's the ceiling. He's freaking floating off the ground up to the ceiling. And so that's what your story reminded me of.
Wow.
Thank you, Colin.
Yeah, it's like very Mary Poppins-ish in a way.
Yeah, you're right. I love to laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to stop laughing. You got to tell sad stories so you can come down from the ceiling. That's probably what the missionaries did. They told sad stories. Sat upon the ground and told sad stories of the death of kings. Oh,
yes, there you go.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a great story.
No problem. Have a good night.
Happy Halloween.
Bye-bye.
So
can I jump in?
Oh, yeah. Let me just say one thing about the Newell Knight story, and then please. If you go back and read that story in church history, it's sort of written to make you think that everybody's there to see the experience happen. But if you read the story carefully and go back to the original sources of the story, you learn that it only happens with Joseph and Newell Knight in the room, and that everyone in the neighborhood shows up late to the game. But then it's sort of told as if everybody saw all this, and that's just not how it really went down. It's a faith-promoting story of 2, not a faith-promoting story of 27. So anyway.
Wow.
I just wanted to do a
memory,
quick...
Bill. I just wanted to commend you on that.
Yeah.
It just amazes me all the time how great your memory is. Now, I'm sorry, Maven.
No, yeah, I just wanted to cut in for a quick commercial break to plug Exmo shirts, and what I think is the creepiest shirt available right now. I have never seen anyone buy this. I don't know why someone would want to, but I know different strokes for different folks, I guess. I bet there's people that would want to have this. So anyway, this one is called What Is Wanted, and that's available at exmoshirts.com.
With that unplanned advertisement on your part, you have just given a clip to the enemy for them to play. as they mention how we promote these kinds of t-shirts. Up to now, they've been mistaking our t-shirts, which are not objectionable, with other t-shirts under the Exmo apparel brand. And you brought the chickens home to roost. Thanks a lot.
It was fitting. It's Halloween, and this was creepy. I wanted to show it. It's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. I think, yeah, it's awful.
Adam.
I thought I was going to say things celestial, but
yeah. Ponderize it. Okay, so
look, Carrie wants it.
There we go.
I want to
have that
see you
shirt.
wearing
Okay,
it.
well, you know where to order it, Carrie. How about
There you are.
think celestial seasonings, or is it seasons? The herbal tea.
Yeah, which is great. Why? It's an herbal tea, and you're allowed to have herbal tea. You can't have real tea, and it's got the name Celestial. So that was an easy one to remember as a young adult that I could have that one.
Yes.
Seasonings.
Oh, hey, we cannot forget Rebecca. She's been languishing in the dungeon.
We're gonna grab her right here. Here we go.
I know you just feel guilty. That's all. You just feel guilty. That's why you had to let me on.
What's going on there?
No,
we're having a glitch
deal.
in the system as soon as Rebecca comes on the show.
The ghost in the machine.
Good evening. Do you have a story?
I do have a story. And it's actually, first of all, I have to say I'm enjoying the show. It's amazing. It's a perfect topic. It's very seasonal, very timely. And I've loved every story that's been told so far. It's been amazing. So my story is, of course, the story about the library, right? What else would it be? So I was about 10 years old. I've mentioned before that I was raised in a very sort of sheltered way. I didn't have TV, very orthodox family. So all I basically did was read. And I read books about fairy tales, magic, that kind of thing. Just avid reader, no TV, just raised kind of in a very sequestered, secluded way. So as I'm reading these books about magic, I get this idea that reading books isn't enough. It would be really interesting to try magic. Like, are there books about spells? Are there books about the dark arts? And I used to go to the library several times a week because no TV. What else are you going to do? You're going to check out more books. So my answer to every question is you've got to go to the library and you've got to figure out any question that you have. So I go to the library and I decide that I'm going to look up some books about black magic, spells, like the real stuff, not fairy tales, but the real stuff. I want to go straight to it. So I walk over, and this will date me, to the card catalog. This is in the early 70s. So for those of you that don't know, a card catalog is a giant piece of furniture that has drawers in it. And in each drawer is a little card where the book is written with a Dewey Decimal Call number on it. And they're all in alphabetical order.
Did you or did you not personally know John Dewey?
Oh, God, stop it. I think you're slightly older than I am, but not much. I know. Let's not draw attention. Anyway, so I go to the library. I'm very familiar with the library. Like, I go there 2 or 3 times a week. I hang out there all the time, hence my, pseudonym there. So I walk toward the card catalog, fully intending to look up books about the dark arts. And it's like one of those dreams where you're walking, but you're not getting anywhere. I don't know if anyone's ever had a dream like that, where you're just moving.
Story of my life.
But yeah. And we should just end there. There you go. That's probably the scariest thing of all. No, so I'm walking and I'm not getting to the card catalog. I can see it, but it's like I'm underwater and I can't get there.
But
so
you're not asleep. You're not dreaming. This is
real.
Life.
This is real. I've been dropped off at the library in my brown Ford station wagon that my parents have driven me there, and they're going to leave me at the library. They do not know what I'm intending to look up, which is all kinds of books about, magic and spells and incantations and the dark arts. So I'm trying to walk toward the card catalog, and I'm very familiar with the library. I know every part of it because I spend so much time there, and I can't get there. It's like I'm in a dream and I can't move toward it, but I'm a very practical child. And so I just said, stop it. And I start walking forward and I get to the card catalog. So I get there and I decide that I'm going to look up incantations. So I'm trying to find I, and it's all alphabetical. And I guess the only thing I can compare it to is like a stupor of thought. I cannot read alphabetically. I cannot find I cannot go to that drawer. And again, I kind of say to myself, oh my gosh, get a grip.
How old were you again at this time?
10. I'm 10. Yeah. Again, raised in a really weird way. I've talked about this on my podcast. I'm a very.
Have you ever told this story before?
What?
Have you ever told this story before?
Never.
Okay, so
Never.
you can't figure out where I is
No,
because
I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not able to really do it. Yeah, it's like this weird stupor of thought. It's very hard to explain. It's like being in a dream, but this is really happening. So finally I like kind of snap myself out of it and I, so then I go to try to pull the drawer open because you're going to pull the drawer open. There's cards inside and you're going to pick out, go through the subjects and you're going to pick out books and that'll direct you in the library where to go find them. So I'm trying to open the drawer and I can't even open the drawer. Like it really is stuck. It'll go out like a little bit of an inch and then it kind of moves and I'm wrestling with this drawer, which is ridiculous. I've been in this card catalog, a couple times a week. I know every inch of it. This should not be happening. So finally I just give it a really big yank and I start combing through the cards, and
so
I'm
it
looking
does
at
open with a
it
really
does
big
open.
yank.
Yeah, because each step of the way I'm like blocked, but I just being really determined and I'm going to get through and I'm going to do it. So I open the drawer is open and I start, flipping through the cards and I'm looking for incantations. But weirdly, I can't, it's almost like the cards are blank. Like I just can't make sense of them. I know this sounds really strange. People are probably going, oh, she was having a stroke, but I was only 10. So I don't know that I was having a stroke. So I really couldn't find it. I really couldn't make any sense of it. I couldn't look through it. And again, I was very familiar with how to look up books in a card catalog. And then in my head, I actually heard it was a male voice and it said, stop it. And at that point, something was trying to tell me, don't go down this road. Don't go delve into this. Don't look into this. Now, I wasn't a religious child. I think I've been agnostic since I was born. So I didn't ever think other people might think, oh, that's the Holy Ghost or something like that. I didn't think that. I just thought, oh, the forces that be, somebody is trying to tell me not to explore this avenue in my young life. And so I just shut the drawer and I think I went and checked out Anne of Green Gables or something like that. But it was a really strange experience and I've never forgotten it. And I wrote about it in my journal when I was 10. So I still have it written down. So,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, isn't that weird?
What I'm wondering is if you had turned around, would you have seen your dad standing there?
No, my dad had dropped me off. No, my answer to it is perhaps, I don't know, time travel. I don't know what it was. I have no idea. I didn't ever give it a religious context, but I did think it might have been, string theory, something, but it was interesting.
Because you're a rather secular person now.
I'm a very secular person, yes.
What on earth? You've got all these different things that are going on that are trying to supernaturally, and I try and use that word in its technical sense, supernaturally prevent you from getting to the card catalog and pulling out the drawer with first off, finding it, pulling it out,
right,
seeing what it is. And then when none of that works, you hear a voice.
I hear a voice. I can't explain it either. And I don't know what would have happened had I delved into that, had I started looking into that at that age. I have no idea.
Okay. Wow.
Weird.
That's a
one
remarkable
commenter
story.
It said wrong roads, and I put that up on screen. So yeah, I don't know.
Wait, when you said wrong roads there, Maven, it sounded like red rum.
Red rum, red rose.
Oh,
yeah.
did it?
Wrong roads. Wrong
But
roads.
I've often thought
wrong roads.
I've often thought that people could have taken that as a spiritual experience. Like I probably could have shared that in testimony meeting and it would have been really inspiring,
You could have written a book about that and gathered a cult following of several significant and somewhat infamous individuals.
I might still do that. So anyway, thank you for letting me share my story. I have never told that story.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. We'll see you later. Happy Halloween. By the way, I don't think I took a chance to plug her shows. She's on Mormonish with Landon Brophy, if that is his real name. And also on the, there's this thing with Steve Pinecker. What's that called? It's not, hang on. Mormon Book Reviews. Yeah.
Mormon Media Reviews is what I think she's officially co-host of. And I'm sure she'll tell us in the chat here real soon as well.
And she has a book club, a Mormon book club or something. She's just everywhere doing everything.
At least 2, if not 3 book clubs.
Yeah. So, yeah, she's very busy. I'm glad she took the time to come on the show and share that story. Is there anybody else on the line, Bill?
4 more phone calls on the line.
Well, let's line them up.
So this should be Tim. Tim, is that you? Ooh, I think Tim hung up on us.
Either that or he's giving us Morse code for SOS.
I'm going to return that to the queue in case he comes back or something else was going on. So give me a second here. Let's try this one. Hello, what's the name, caller? Whoop, that didn't work. Let's try this.
Bill is hanging up on everyone tonight. Don't take it personal. It's just a little hobby of his.
Caller, are you there? Well, I haven't done anything on my end, so let me return that one to the queue.
Okay, now we're getting pranked.
Something's going on, huh?
Yeah, something spooky.
You might need to open it back up. And I did put in the chat the link if you want to come on live. We don't have anyone in our green room here, so if anyone wants to come and share there.
All right, caller, are you there? Hello?
While we're trying to find that, I'll go ahead and put this on. I'll take the branding off here.
Good idea.
All right. So yeah, just real quick here. I'll go ahead and make it full screen. So this is, if you guys remember from a little while back, we had Brent Bakavoy on who did this, I guess kind of a short film. It's a little bit of like a comedy horror. It's called Ronald's Little Factory.
No, sorry. That's me trying to hook us back.
Now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio.
This podcast has officially been taken over by the supernatural.
Yeah. Sorry, Bill. I muted you. Just let me know when you're good.
Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
Okay. So back to Ronald's Little Factory. There is a costume party and movie showing. It's at Ruby's Cinema Club. Oh, hold on.
You're good. You're good.
And it's this Friday. It's at 8:30 p.m. So if you are in Salt Lake City, and it is at a bar, so it is 21 plus. But anyway, the socializing starts at 8:30, and the movie starts at 10 p.m. If you want to see that. So there we go. That's my quick plug for Ronald's Little Factory. If you're in Salt Lake, and I hope that I need somebody to go on my behalf because I can't go, and I still haven't seen it yet. Anyway,
thanks for the advert, Maven. This is what it looks like when the wheels fall off a podcast.
All right. So, Tim, I think we've got you, my friend. Go ahead.
Tim, I thought it was Steve.
Do you have me?
I do, but we'll have to switch to Steve back. Something happened there, but we're good now.
Sounds like Tim Ballard.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Here we go.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead, my friend.
I'm in Paderborn. It's January 1974. My companion's 100 in front of me on his bike, and I'm behind him. Something pushes me towards the sidewalk. I fall, and rather than when I hit the curb, it wasn't hard. It was like soft, like rubber. And I fell over. And then as I'm getting up, his bike is taken over by some force, and it bounces up and down, and there's sparks and lightning flying all around it. And it's bouncing up and down, and it does a full 360. His bike, like, it's rocking back and forth all the way around. And I can see sparks coming out of his shoes and all around the bike.
Shoes and the bike? So the bike was bouncing around and there's sparks coming out of it.
The bottom of Berta Hutter's shoes and the bike, there was like electricity. I mean, like static electricity flying all around. And it just did a 360 all the way around.
What was the weather like?
Stopped, and we looked at each other. It was a clear German winter night. It was January 1974. We're in a neighborhood riding our bikes.
And what did your companion say about it?
We just looked at each other like, what just happened? You know, it's like, we didn't know. If anybody could ever explain it to me, I'd like to know, but no. That's my paranormal experience.
Awesome.
How odd.
Thank you. That one's different.
I have seen ghosts though. Oh, can I share a couple of stories? Okay.
How about you pick the best one?
Well, down at March Air Force Base in Riverside, they have a C-141 that brought troops back from Vietnam and the Middle East, and we sleep there. When I go down to work on the airplanes, we sleep in there sometimes in different airplanes. And one night I woke up and I could hear guys talking and like troops marching along the airplane. And I was the only one that heard it. There were four of us in there, and three of the four of us heard it.
Did anybody look to see what was
And,
going on outside?
It was dark. It was the middle of the night. All you could hear is the 215 freeway, freeway cars going by. Nobody
Okay,
else
so
was there.
help me understand the supernatural aspect of this better, because I wasn't there and I'm not familiar with the situation.
Well, I have one where I've seen apparitions there, though. I have seen ghosts, actually. When I was sleeping in the B-17, then this B-17 did see combat. And so I was sleeping in the B-17, and this guy came up and walked over me a couple of times, 2 nights in a row. The same, looked like an airman, walked right over me when I was sleeping in it. And there's also a woman and 2 children that died.
Wait. I'm sorry. I apologize, but can you take me back to the story? Why is that supernatural to have an airman walk over you while you're sleeping 2 nights in succession?
Well, it's a ghost. It was some kind of an apparition.
How do you know it wasn't a real person? This is the point I'm laboring toward.
There wasn't anybody in the airplane but me.
Ah.
I saw this apparition just right in front of me, and he walked right over me one night. Well, 2 nights in a row.
What did you do on the 3rd night?
Well, another night I was sleeping in the trailer down there, and there was a mother and a son and a daughter that died during the influenza epidemic at a farm down there. And where the blue hangar is where the farmhouse was. And the little boy and the little girl, 2 or 3 times now, have tried to talk to me. They appear to me at night, and they try to say something to me. I can't hear them, but I can see their lips moving.
Wait, this is ongoing right now?
This happened in March. Well, when was that? I think April was last time I was down there. Yeah.
Does that mean the most recent time? But it's only when you're down there that it happens.
Oh no, it's happened other places I've been. Well,
Did they follow you?
Castle in Atwater. No, this is somebody else appeared to me up there, and one of the airplanes up there I was sleeping in, and somebody else appeared to me.
You got to quit sleeping in these airplanes.
Pardon?
You got to quit sleeping in these airplanes. Get a motel room.
Well, but they also appear to me outside when we're sleeping on the ground. Even I've had apparitions come.
It's obvious that you have a great deal more experience with seeing ghosts and apparitions than the average person, such as myself. What do you attribute that to? Why do you think it is that you see these ghosts in such abundance?
I've had this gift my whole life. I've had this gift my whole life. I see things before they happen, and I've seen apparitions before they happen. I mean, appear to me. And I just think, I don't know what's going on. But all I know is it happens.
Okay. Well, hopefully you will allow, if you can, those children, those apparition children, I think you mentioned, to communicate whatever message it is they have to you so you can know what it is they want to say.
See, and I know I'm not the only one that's seen them down there, because other people, they have a ghost night at March Air Museum a couple of times a year, and I went down for that one night, and 3 or 4 of us had experiences that night down there. So,
well, I want you to know I'm not trying to register any disbelief in your story. This is Coast to Coast PM with Bill Reel and RFM.
I don't believe it. If it hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't believe it. No, but it has happened a few times. I mean, a number of times in my life.
All right.
So,
well, I think that's fascinating. And someone had commented that maybe you are a medium and don't know it. Have you ever considered that?
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. My mother could do the same thing. My mother could call me out in her brain. She could think my name and I would hear her. And we were hundreds of miles apart, and I knew I needed to call her. So,
wow.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know who you call up to get training in being a medium, but maybe there's some kind of certification board in your state.
Well, I can do remote viewing also. So, I learned how to do that. how to
I'm
hone
sorry,
that.
what was that you can do also?
Remote viewing
Remote viewing.
projects. Remote viewing.
What's in my
Do you need a
pocket?
rock and a hat?
Dying, it was, no.
You don't need
No.
any tools.
Stargate.
I don't
No,
suppose there's
no.
any way.
All
By the
three.
way, I just want you to know something, okay? I have something here,
Okay.
and it's actually behind this
Right.
this pad. Are you a remote viewer such as you would be able to tell me what is on the front of this?
The front of it's a comic book.
It's a comic book.
I'm guessing it's a comic book.
Okay, but are you remote
you're
viewing it's
not-
a comic book?
Is it,
Yeah.
is it, what the impression I'm getting is Spider-Man or something red.
Okay.
Red character.
Okay. Well, I'm going to turn this around very slowly so everybody can see I'm not monkeying with anything. I'm not
I'm
doing
excited.
a magic trick. But this is what it is. See, it's two cats playing on a pumpkin.
Maybe you're not enough of a
I've got
believer,
cats all
RFM.
around me.
I was just wondering,
Yeah.
what do you
have-
do?
I have-
Bill Real. It's the Mask of the Red Death. Oh, here we go. No, by the way, can I just tell you something about this?
It just
This
FYI,
is
RFM,
actual.
orange is a close relation of red.
Well, yeah, because it's mixed with yellow, right? Okay, so here we go. Here's the kitty cats. This is an actual decoration that I got at the Hallmark store 50 years ago this month in 1973 in Oxnard, California. There were several of them, and this is the one that has survived. Yes, and this will be in the next Spider-Man movie. These two little cute kittens playing around the pumpkin. That will be in the climax of the movie. So, but yeah, so this is something that's very meaningful. It was very meaningful to me at the time. I just thought this was so adorable, even as a 13-year-old, when you're not supposed to, like things like that. Of course, I didn't tell my friends about it. But all the different cute little kitties, and I just thought it was so Halloween-y. And I want to tell you something now. Having told you that story, I will also tell you the story that I kind of just pulled a Jeffrey Holland, because this is actually not the very copy of this Hallmark decoration that I'm holding in my hands, the leaf turned down. This is actually one that I bought at an outrageous price, I've got to tell you, at a local antique store when I was in there last year and just looking around, and I saw this and I went, oh my gosh, there it is. That's the one. Okay. Well, thank you so much for calling. This has been great fun. I appreciate it. And I want to wish you a happy Halloween.
Well, I'm curious about the remote viewing, if that's something that has happened for you randomly, or if it's something
I
that
hung up
you've
on him
tried to
already,
do.
Maven. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. We'll give someone else a chance. Oh, good.
What we do know is that he was 0 for 1. That's all we can speak to is the anecdotal evidence.
And by the way, I've got to tell you, I wasn't trying to trick, but I saw when he started talking about a comic book, I saw, yeah, this could look like the back of a comic book. This is the packaging that I got it in, though. It's not a comic book size exactly. So I wasn't trying to trick anybody.
If you would have turned that around and that would have been Spider-Man or a red character, I
wanted to get something so bad
just
just to get up in there, take it out of the camera for a second. Whoop, yeah,
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
We've got 2 more calls and we'll try to squeeze these in. First one, what's the name, caller?
Hello, this is Suzette.
Suzette, welcome to
Suzette.
Coast to Coast EM.
Hello, Suzette.
Hi.
I'll
Hey
bet
guys,
you've got
I
a
got
ton of
great
stories
Halloween
you could tell
story.
us.
I want to hear it.
Oh yeah, I do have a lot, but I'm going to tell a Mormon story. This is girls' camp.
Mm.
So this is not a prison story, although there are ghosts in prison, so that'll be a different day. But this is a girls' camp story, and this is the year 2000. I'm 30 years old. I'm there with my sister. So there's another person that witnessed this and continues. My sister does not look like that, Bill, but it's still a spooky story. So my sister and I are in charge of 4th years at girls' camp. And they're up at the 4th year campsite. There are 3 big canvas tents in a semicircle and a big fire pit. And myself, my sister, and about 15 of these girls are working on our skit for that night. We're around the picnic tables, working on the skit. And as we're working on our skit, we hear a blood-curdling scream coming from inside one of the tents. And we were so shocked, nobody moved. We just sat there. And then we heard it again, blood-curdling, high-pitched scream. So my sister and I, we look at the girls, we're like, stay here, which they did not obey. But we walked over to the tent and we pulled back the flaps, and all we could see was a thick, inky blackness. And we peeked in. We were actually a little nervous to even go in because we could feel this like dark blackness. We look in and there's another leader. One of the other leaders was lying on the floor screaming bloody murder. And all the girls had gathered around. And so my sister and I step inside. We like as if we're stepping into like an actual like dense air. And we kneel down and I look at my sister. She looks at me and my sister said, I don't think we should touch her. And she's got these wild eyes and she's looking at us. And I thought she actually might like grab us or scratch us or bite us or something. But the girls ran down the hill to get the other leaders and we touched her and we said, are you okay? And she says, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. And by then the other leaders had arrived and we pulled her body, like pulled her out of the tent into the light. There's no priesthood anywhere except for the priesthood the women had in our own hands. And we blessed her and we cast out the demon. There you go. Happened at girls' camp.
Was the
It was
last you
demon
saw?
casting by a group of faithful Mormon women.
Was the last you saw of this blackness, this inky blackness? Was that in the tent, or did you see it afterward and outside the tent?
It stayed in the tent.
Did anybody go sleep in that tent?
Sorry, are you on a delay? The
Yeah,
girls
there was a
slept in the tent. They had to.
Because you sure as hell weren't going to. Okay, now I'm freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
So there you go.
We got some
We're
feedback.
casting out of demons.
Suzette,
I
that's
think if there's
fantastic.
anything-
Thank you for calling with that great story.
All right.
I think that
couple
shows
more.
why there has to be priesthood at girls' camp
And
and
it
why
wasn't-
women need to be supervised. But I guess why not? Because apparently we can do it fine on our own. So yeah. Now
the
I'm
deep-
suspicious why we really need the priesthood there all the time. But I guess
Yeah.
maybe the inky blackness wouldn't have shown up if there was a penis around. I'm sorry, somebody with the priesthood around.
Well, the demon is saying, scream all you like. There's no priesthood within miles of here.
All right, we've got
God just when women are alone, God just lets them
Get possessed
be
by demons.
subject to demons.
Let me tell you, if the priesthood had been there, that demon would not have shown.
Yep.
There you go.
Prove me wrong.
All right, caller, what's the name?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's the name, my friend?
My name is Shane.
Shane, welcome to Mormonism Live. Welcome to Coast PM. What's the story you've got, my friend?
Man, thanks for having me on the show. I'm a huge fan of you guys and Maven, you too. This is a mission story.
Excellent.
Drum
All
roll,
right.
please.
I served in Brazil. Drum roll, that's great. I served in Brazil, and when I went out, South America is known for, at least in my opinion, it's known for very supernatural things happening. People are somewhat superstitious in Brazil. And as I was there, I was about 6 months into my mission, and this was my first area I'd ever been in. And I was picking up the language okay. And one night, my companion and I, we were walking up the street. It was a long day. We had decided to fast all day long. And so we walked up the street. We walked up to the very top of the hill. It was getting dark. it was about to the point where the missionary handbook says we have to go home. And so it's getting dark. And as we are walking up this hill, we get this distinct feeling that we should go to this house at the very crest of the hill.
Hmm.
And in Brazil, you clap instead of knock because there's really no front doors. They're surrounded by a gate. So we clapped. And we didn't hear anything for a while. We stood. The feeling that we had both had was so intense that we stood around for a while. And all of a sudden, out of the window, a woman pokes her head out. And again, it's getting dark. The woman pokes her head out and she asks us who we are. So we say we're missionaries, and she invites us inside. Now, my companion and I, we had this distinct feeling as we were walking in. This was the second distinct feeling of the night. We had a distinct feeling that something was not right. And as we walked through the threshold of the door, it was as if we were covered in darkness, not literal darkness, but we felt an intense sadness and misery upon our souls. Both of us had this experience. And we walked through the door, and they placed us on the couch. There's a couch in the center room.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, hold on a minute. For some reason, it jumped off.
This woman, her name was Alia, was her name. And not to dox her, I don't think she'll watch this probably, but she invited us to sit on the couch, and they both pulled rocking chairs right in front of us, a few feet in front of us. And they sat down on the rocking chairs and just rocked back and forward and didn't say anything, just looked at us and rocked. And my companion and I were quite freaked out, understandably. This was a creepy thing that was happening. And we asked why they invited us in. This is something we're supposed to do, is ask why they invited us in. We hope, of course, that they say, we invited you in because we would like to be baptized tomorrow or very soon. And so we sat there, we were hoping for this, but they did not say this. They said, one of them did not speak. In fact, she had wide eyes as she was rocking, but the other sister, she spoke and she said, there has been a presence in our home. And of course, this is in Portuguese, but in English, there's been a presence in our home. And we said, okay. And we asked what was the presence, what was happening. And she said, there's been an evil presence. She defined the presence as a shadow in the home. And my companion and I were very intrigued by this. As, you know, righteous missionaries, somewhat righteous, we had the knowledge that, of course, demons can come into homes. Satan has power over these things. And so we sat and they were rocking and we were listening to them. We heard them tell the story of this demon. The demon, they didn't describe it as a demon, but a shadow. The shadow was knocking plates over in the kitchen their whole day. And we thought, well, this is so strange, how odd. And as we were sitting there, we heard footsteps in the back room and a plate shatter. Now, this sounds made up. It totally does, but this did happen. The plate shattered. The footsteps, we were fasting for a while that day, so those may have been invented. But the footsteps, I believe we heard, my companion and I both, after corroborating after this story, we both heard it. So we decided we would kneel to the ground. The missionary handbook is not specific about what you do in these scenarios. So we knelt to the ground.
No, it's not, is it?
And
they need to have a little extra section entitled exorcism.
I know they need one because it's so confusing. You know, I had always heard about raising your arm to the square, but these women were very freaked out. I didn't want them to think I was going to hit them or anything. So anyway, so we knelt to the ground. I figured I could raise my arm to the square then. But as we knelt, this is one of the most freaky parts of this. As we knelt, the two women stood up, they went to the door, and they shut the door. Now, they had already shut the main door, but in front of the main door was a door of bars, metal bars, like on a jail cell. They shut it and they locked it. And it was then that we noticed behind this door was a stick, almost like a dowel rod with duct tape on the handle. And this was extremely weird, getting locked into these women's their house, you know, and they have a stick which looks like a weapon near the front door, and they lock the bars. And so we were getting very scared. Now I said the prayer. I said, you know, by the power of the priesthood, let this presence be gone. And I will tell you, nothing happened at all, not even a little bit. And we felt no different. And the women were still very scared. And we got up, we said, this is too freaky for us. So we got up and left. And eventually we came back because we thought maybe these people would be willing to be baptized. The one sister had never said a single word. She just kept rocking in her chair. And they did not want to see us again. And that was that event.
That would be terrifying. Especially like to have a door like that closed behind you. And yeah, it would be like instant panic mode. I'm glad nothing happened, but man. Like
Yeah,
we're
I thought
telling
for sure I was gonna
stories,
get,
but like
you know,
that is
murdered or
legitimately
molested
scary.
or something,
But you didn't. How did the evening
yeah, oh
end?
yeah, it was intense. And
I'm real
well,
sorry.
so this is another creepy part. We left the house, you know, and they explained to us a little bit about their situation. They said they had been, this is a crazy part, for 20 years, they had been trapped in their home by their father. Their father was, they called him an Arab, probably a Muslim. I don't exactly know what that means, but their father was extremely abusive. And for 20 years, they had locked these girls in this house. They were probably in their mid-30s, and he locked them in the house and never let them outside. So neither of them could read. They were very odd individuals. And so as they were telling us the story, my companion and I were thinking, this is too weird. We got to get out of here. You know, we don't want to, first of all, I don't know what the rules are about being in a house with two women. I don't think that's actually allowed, but we, you know, maybe there's some special circumstances. So anyway, so we leave.
I think that is in the handbook.
This is a very, I think it is in the handbook, but that's in the handbook, but casting out devils is not.
Yeah.
But so we walked down the hill of their house, and in Brazil there's a religion. It's a bit of a dark religion. There's some satanic elements. It's very much a religion of the occult. And we were walking down this hill, and a few times, this was like a hill that we'd been down before, but this hill was centered on an alley. So we were walking through the alley down the hill, and over to our right we see a mass of like white cloth. It looks like white cloth. And so we walked over to the white cloth. Now this is just to end our crazy evening that we had, and we thought it was odd. And it was
Is it on the ground?
dress.
Is it hanging on the clothesline or something? This white cloth?
No, it was on the ground. Yeah, it was in a pile on the ground. And we discovered it was a wedding dress that had been cut in 7 pieces. And the wedding dress was just on the ground. It was kind of covered in some dirt. And next to it, I have a picture of this. Next to it was a chicken. And the chicken had both of its legs broken at odd angles. It was still alive. It just had broken legs at both angles. Its wings were bent in odd shapes. And this was, I asked my companion, he was a native of Brazil, and he told me that this was part of the ritual of the 7 dresses that they do in this religion. I don't know how he knew this. I should probably know why he knew that. But he told me that it was a part of the ritual of the 7 dresses, which is a ritual that one of these occult members would do in order to get married. And so that was what that was. So it was a very creepy night. I've never had a night like that since then. And
that's really, really weird, isn't it? I was thinking that maybe the chicken ran sideways to the Rooster Mafia or something.
Maybe.
Yep.
Next to the horse.
Got his legs broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, caller.
What a weird night with these strange things. Yeah, that was Shane. That's Shane. So the bars, if Shane's not gone, I don't know, but the bars on the door then were part of what was left over from when the dad used to lock him up, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Again, I did.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. Well,
No,
it's okay. I mean, all good things must come to an end, and so must Shane.
I have a mission story, like a little, I mean, it's not as much as that, but it is like, I guess a minor one, if that's okay for me to like jump on and share real quick. It's just, it was just a house. We're tracting like normal. And there wasn't anything really weird or special about this particular house that this happened at, but we're at the door. We knocked the first time, you know, and you wait a while, a little bit before you try the second knock. And it just seemed like out of nowhere, I had this rising sense of like panic and doom feeling. Like and at the time I was struggling to determine, like, is this the Holy Ghost? Cause like, I feel something just bad or wrong, or it just was like dark. And but I thought, maybe it's just me. I'm being crazy. I'm kind of psyching myself out for some reason. And I'm trying to look around and see, like, is there anything about this house that's maybe like giving me some creepy vibes or something? And there wasn't. It was a perfectly normal house. And I did know though, like as in this time that we're waiting and I'm feeling this rising sense of like danger and panic. I know we're not going to knock a second time. I'm not going to. But as I'm standing there, I'm feeling the need, like we need to run, we need to flee. And so again, I'm just thinking I'm just being weird. I'm psyching myself out. But then my companion, who was my trainee, I was training at the time, she says, I think we need to go. And I could tell in her like voice something. And I was like, yep. And that was all the confirmation I needed that this was the spirit warning us to get away from this house. And we just booked it. We didn't even finish that street or go to the next house. And like I turned around to see, is someone following us or something like that? And there wasn't, but it was just something that happened to both of us at the same time, this just urgent need to like run away, to flee this house, to get the hell out of there. And so we got in the car, and I think we drove around a little bit, just kind of like processing that before I think we either went home for a break or picked a different neighborhood entirely. And that's something I've thought about every once in a while, just like what did that? What could have possibly have caused this kind of
This
because I
feeling
know
of
that
dread that was shared by both you and your companion at
yeah.
the same time and at the same house.
Yeah. I thought it was just me until she said something. And she didn't say like, I think we should go. She said like, I have a feeling we should leave. And of course that in Mormon speak, that's like, I think the Holy Ghost is telling us to get out. And yeah, so it was like the instant she said that, I was just like, yep. And I don't know. It's just, I don't have an explanation for that.
How
Of
about
course,
you,
in my
Bill?
mind at the time, like this was probably a super dangerous person. So it was definitely the Holy Ghost that like saved us, from being maybe kidnapped or murdered or something. But of course, on this side of things, I think, that's if that were true, there are many missionaries who are not spared from that fate. And I think,
Right.
these kinds of stories can be problematic if you tend to think that way, that like, oh, that was
Well,
God saving me because I'm a missionary.
and they're not as
That causes
righteous
a lot
as
of
you,
problems.
Maven. They weren't as
Right.
righteous as you.
Which is a really terrible thing to insinuate about, about things that happen to missionaries when they're out. That's a very sad thing. But anyway, that was my frame of mind. That was all I could really think of to explain it.
Yeah, I've got no explanation. What about you, Bill?
I've got no explanation for it.
Yeah. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy, Bill.
I think there are a few mysteries out there. So I think the moment you think you have everything figured out, you probably don't realize your own blind spots. We've got Barry Richens on the line, but I also want to mention too, RFM, I don't think at the beginning you ever shared your story.
I did not, but it's too long. It's too complex. It's too late. And you know something? Here's how I feel. I feel like this show is about
I think you did that on purpose.
RFM. How about we let Barry give his and then you share yours?
No. Okay. People are going, I don't know what they're doing in the live chat. I don't look at the live chat. It's off the screen, so I can't even see. What are they doing?
Everybody's saying, RFM, we want to hear your story.
Okay, freak. Okay, I'll do it.
Let me do Barry Richens first, and then you can take us home.
Barry Richens.
Barry, how are you?
Anyway, I don't think I took a chance to plug her show.
Barry,
she's on Mormonish with Lance Brophy.
Look at that. There's a delay.
Name. And also on the...
All right, I'm going to put him back on in the queue.
I think I just did the time warp again.
I'm going to put him back in the queue, and you can go ahead and tell your story, and I'll check with Barry before it's over.
All right.
I was going to say, you go ahead and share your story, RFM.
I was waiting for Barry. What are you doing?
I can try, I'll try again. Let's.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was still thinking about that weird delay.
Barry, are you there?
Briefly up on the line, Bill. 4 more phone calls on the line.
Hello.
So this should be.
No, let's have RFM.
That's just not going well.
Let's do the time warp again.
I'm going to drop you, Barry. Sorry about that.
Good night, Barry. Okay, maybe you'll come back. Okay, so here we go. Everybody dim the lights. Hold hands. Here's the story. This is back when I was taking the missionary discussion. So this is back in June of 1978. I took the missionary discussions and was baptized within the span of 10 days. Yes, I was a golden investigator. I was the kind that the missionaries would go home at night and get on their knees and thank God for an investigator like me, because I was totally going to get baptized. In fact, I started it off with asking my friend, what does it take to get baptized into your church? So yeah, I was a sure thing. Anyway, one day, the missionaries are out there teaching. And of course, I'm at my friend's house because that's, that ups the chance of the baptism, right? When you learn about the gospel in the home of a friend. So that's where I was. And this was in the afternoon. It was very overcast that day, though it was June. And there were these huge windows on the top floor of this duplex in Sumner, Washington. And they're teaching about the plan of salvation. And I'm sitting here. My friend Bruce is sitting here. The missionaries are opposite us. I'm listening. I'm intent. And all of a sudden, the power goes out and the lights go off. And the room is filled with a light from the outside, which is an overcast kind of gray. And it was creepy. And I didn't look at my friend and he didn't look at me like that either. And after 10 seconds, and the missionaries didn't stop. No, this is back in the day when you had it memorized, right? You got to keep it going. Otherwise, you can have trouble getting back on track if you get off. So the lights come back on. It continues. But I thought it was just kind of strange. It wasn't that strange. But after it's over, I start asking the missionaries, because I don't have any particular religious beliefs at this time. I've been kind of unscathed, except a few marks from the Jehovah's Witnesses. But I certainly have this idea that God exists, and they've just been teaching me about the third of the host of heaven that followed Satan and came down to the earth. And I was starting to wonder if they were teaching me that evil spirits were real. So after it was over and we had the closing prayer, I asked Elder Timothy Shanson, he could be in the audience tonight, if evil spirits were real. And Elder Shanson told me, oh yes, they're real and they're everywhere. And they are down here to tempt us and to try and get us to not follow Heavenly Father's plan. And then he was kind enough to give me a story. And his story was that one time when he was at his parents' house, he was sleeping downstairs. He was on the couch. Maybe it wasn't his parents' house, but anyway, he's downstairs. He's on the couch. It's nighttime. It's dark. And in the downstairs, there's a kitchen just off the bedroom. He's the only one there. And he is awoken in the middle of the night by the sound of the pots and the pans banging together and making this deafening din. And it continues to go, and he jumps up and he runs over and he turns on the light and he looks at the kitchen where all the pots and pans are, and there's nothing disturbed. All the cupboard doors are closed. He goes to open them. All the pots and pans are in their places. So that's the story he tells me. But he also tells me, if you ever get in trouble with an evil spirit, Radio Free Mormon, head for the bridge. No, actually, he said, uphill, down dale, the horseman ever gaining on poor Ichabod. Oh, where was that bridge? No, he said, you got to pray. And you got to pray in the name of Jesus, and you just command him to leave because Jesus' name trumps all. They listen to that, and they will obey. So this is what I'm left with. And I've already mentioned earlier what an active imagination I have as a child, even though I'm 18 now. Yeah, I still got it. So that night, I go back home. I'm in my bedroom. I'm minding my own business, and it's getting later and later. Everybody in the house is asleep except for me. And I'm in my bed, and I've got the covers up, and I think, here's what I think. I remember back to an old Jehovah's Witness booklet that I had obtained in 1972. And I think it was called The Truth That Leads to Everlasting Life. If the nice blue one, if there's any J-dubs watching, you'll know what I'm talking about. And in it, they had a section about evil spirits because they believe in them too. And they had this little line drawing. They had some illustrations throughout. It was just the line drawings, it was black and white. But the one picture that I never forgot, and this is 5 years later, the one picture I never forgot was of a guy who's sitting up in his bed at night, and he's looking into the corner, the dark corner of his room. And the picture is from behind this guy who's sitting up in his bed and looking up at the corner. And from the corner in the darkness, looking back at this guy who's sitting up and staring at it, are two glowing eyes. Okay. That's the picture that came back to me that night. And I had the sense that there was an evil presence in my room, and that it seemed that spirits and darkness was swirling and flying all about. And here I am scared to death that if I look up in that freaking corner, there's going to be two glowing eyes staring back at me. So I screw up all my courage and I force myself to look at that corner, and there's no eyes staring back at me. And I go, oh, and I turn back, put my head on the pillow. And of course, then I think, well, what if they're there now? So I have to screw my courage up again, and I have to go through this whole process over and over and over. It's ridiculous. So finally, I just put the covers up over my head. Yes, I'm 18 years old. I've just graduated from high school, and I have scared myself into this frenzy where I'm under the covers and I'm rapidly suffocating myself. And then I have to go to the bathroom. And I hold it as long as I can because I do not want to have to leave the safety, such as it is, of my bed and under the covers, because I know that as soon as I swing my feet over and plant those feet on the floor to get up to go to the bathroom, there are hands that are going to come out from under the bed and grab me around the ankles and pull me under. Yes,
That's
I
why
know
you jump.
What?
You go from the edge of the bed and just jump as close to the
Halfway
door
into
as
the
you can,
hallway,
and then take off
yes.
running.
Is that what you did? That's so funny. I would have, but the door was right there. Actually, there wasn't any really distance. I just had to get up to get out. So
well, the bed monsters can't follow you out of the room. So if you can jump through that doorway, it's kind of like the blanket. You are also safe. But then when you come back, you got to do the same thing.
I had no idea. I had no idea about this. Dang it.
Them's the rules.
Thresholds are important. Passing them and blocking, anyway, like bridges and door thresholds, any kind of threshold, mirrors especially, regardless.
Portals.
So I finally can't stand it anymore, and I just squeeze my eyes tight, grit my teeth, and that was shut, and grit my teeth, put my feet on the floor, ready to scream, and nothing happens. So I get up, I turn on the light, go out the door. Now here's the deal, okay? This is on the second floor. My bedroom is here, right? My parents' bedroom door is right across. This is a dead end here on this side. I go down just a few steps and across the hall, there's the door to the bathroom. So I turn on the bathroom light. I'm still the only person who's up. And I'm doing my business there in the bathroom. And I'm somewhat upbraiding myself mentally for being such an idiot to allow my imagination to run away with me so much that I could get myself in such a dither. And I'm just about to finish. And all of a sudden, at the closed door to the bathroom and down low on the door, in the completely otherwise silent house, I hear three distinct sounds. Scratch, scratch, scratch. And I thought that's unusual. So I finished up my business, which didn't take too long, and I got to the door. By the way, I'm also thinking in my head, I always want to think, what is the most rational thing here? Here's the most rational thing. The most rational thing is that there is a dog in the house, and it's a little toy Pekingese, and it's my mom's toy Pekingese, and I think that its name was Little Bit. Well, yeah, it's a little dog. So this dog had a habit of going to my mom and dad's room, which was just down the hallway on the same side as the bathroom. And if the door was closed, but just ajar, and he wanted to go in and lie on the floor and curl up in his spot, one of his spots, he would scratch on it to push it open, and then he'd go in. And I was thinking, that's the rational answer, right? It's the only answer, damn it. It's got to be the dog. So I open the door to the bathroom, stick my head out into the lit hallway. I turned on all the lights as I went, believe me. And I turn and look down to the left at the door. And I honestly cannot remember if it was closed. And that's a huge detail, because obviously if it's closed, he didn't open it and then close it behind himself. He's a dog. But then I suddenly got this thought. And the thought that came to me was that I knew that actually this dog, Little Bit, had a favorite place to curl up to go to sleep. And that was at the bottom of the stairs on a little throw rug at the bottom. We're on the second floor. I walk quickly down the other direction of the hallway, make a left toward the front door, and look over the steps that go downstairs to my left. And sure enough, there, curled up and asleep at the bottom of the stairs on the throw rug, was Little Bit. It was at that point I knew I needed to start praying. So I went back into the bedroom, got down on my knees, did what Elder Shanson said a prayer, name of Jesus, commanding the spirits to leave in his name. And suddenly the evil presence lifted, and I was able to go to bed and get to sleep. And that's the story.
Actually, we were still in the room.
And I swear to you that every word of what I have told you is true and actually happened.
We have to comment. You should hire out as a campfire ghost storyteller.
Well, thank you very much.
And that's why I wanted you to read my story, because it would have sounded so much more awesomer. But he made me read it.
Yeah, you did great. I love the way you read it. I think Bill needs to read it in his monster voice.
Once upon a time, there was
an evil man.
I don't know, just tell a story.
So we have exhausted the phone lines and the computer call-ins.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. This has been so exciting for me. I love this time of year. I love the ghost stories. I love the audience. And I'm so happy that you were able to call in, so many of you, or computer in, or whatever it is you call it when you actually show up on tonight. Special Coast to Coast episode. Now, what is this?
Just scary pictures.
What?
Sorry,
I don't even think I want to know.
I'm just trying to find scary pictures, and
Well, you're freaking me out, man.
Well, that was the whole idea, wasn't it? To
when I turn out
have
the
scary
lights here,
stuff
I'm the
happen
only one
tonight.
in the building. I'm just saying.
Sorry.
All right. Well, I tell you what,
Thanks,
do you
everyone.
want to make an announcement about next week? Next week will be All Hallows Day, All Saints Day, November 1st, 2023. Bill Reel's in charge of the show. Any announcements, Bill?
As of right now, we are planning on having Cody Brown from Sister Wives on, and I'm super excited to have a chance to have a conversation with him here. So
the Cody Brown
from the TV series Sister Wives. And so, folks, if you want to, I'll put a post on Facebook. If you want to send some questions, things you would want us to ask him, we'd love to hear those, and should make for a fun night.
I think so. Well, everybody, I want to wish all of you a very happy Halloween. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Do it now if you haven't done it already. Hit like early, hit like often. Although I think it only takes one. But if you can make comments, that's super too. I understand that helps as well. And I want to thank everybody who donates to Mormonism Live. Your donations are so important to us. If you haven't made a that would be donation. If you haven't made a donation yet, please consider going to Bill, MormonismLive.org, hitting the subscribe button, making a donation there. If you can make $5 a month recurring donation, that would make me have the happiest Halloween ever. That's all I'm saying.
I love it.
All right. So if everybody else is done, I'm ready to close this baby out. Hearing no objection, we'll see you next time, everybody, on Mormonism Live.
Happy Halloween.